Left off. Let's see if the sound is working. Okay. Yep. Okay. So we're in the middle of direct mail mastery newsletter from May. I was mailed this by David Foley, so I have it here on my desk, and I've been wanting to talk about it. And the question is, should letters look like personal correspondence? I think the answer is indubitably yes. But it doesn't really answer that question. Would love to see a split test of a brochure versus a letter. For example, I've got this. This came from old school marketing, and it has a post-it note over here, right? With a little thanks for your interest. It could say my name because they see it over here. They could say, and that would be, I think, more effective. So a little flyer with a post-it note, something that I think you might like or something like that. Would be great, a great test against a letter. This one happens to be handwritten, but you could do the outside envelope of a handwritten letter also. Anyway, so this work is, I believe, I'm not sure who wrote the article. It doesn't have a byline per se, but it does talk about Jeff Brooks, who's a Seattle nonprofit fundraiser professional in Seattle, Washington. So I'm assuming that maybe he wrote this or maybe David Foley wrote this. It's not clear to me. But it says that when people read letters, they start with the return address, and we'll get into that in a second. Then they look at the address, their own address and their own name, and then they scoot down here to the PS, the postscript. And according to the article, 90%, or according to Professor Vogel, 90% of people read that PS. And depending on what they think about it, like if the PS just says, thank you for reading my letter, they haven't read it yet. Nuh-uh. They're thinking about reading it. So don't close with that. Close with the benefits. Close with, you can save the whales, or whoever you want to save, or whatever it is. We're really saving the whales. We're excited about your involvement or something. Anyway, a compelling postscript, then they will skim the letter. Okay. If your organization's logo is unknown to the reader, so if you rented a list and they don't know of you, I mean, you don't know if they know you, but you can assume that they're not in your donor file, so they don't know you well. Use something else like a Johnson box. A Johnson box is something like the postscript idea, restating the benefits of the letter or the reason you're writing, or the offer, if there's an offer in there, in a little highlighted box up in the upper right. Okay, or maybe a photograph of the letter's author, like we could use here. Second, the eye looks for the reader's name and address. There's nothing sweeter than seeing one's name in print, and the addressee's name should be shown twice. Here's a fundraising letter from the Church of Canada that David Foley got, and he's got his name there twice, twice, and his address. And also note the date on the letter, March 2023. Vogel advises using an exact date or no date at all, though we should note that this newsletter has a date of May 2023. So maybe this letter is looking like a monthly newsletter, in which case it makes a bit of sense, I have to say. This does not look, this is a multi-page thing. This does not look like a personal letter, I have to say, and neither does this. So I'm guessing this is more like a newsletter. Okay, David says he doesn't use his own signature. I used to occasionally, even in emails, use just John or JRM, my initials. So it's not something I would sign a contract with, so you couldn't just lift it and sign a contract. I mean, suppose you could try, but I never use it for legal purposes, but it does look better than just my name typed out. So I have done that. Fourth, the eye moves to the postscript, and this is what I said was the most important part. The postscript will determine whether the reader skims your letter. Okay? And so in the postscript, summarize the benefits. Never use something like, thank you for reading my letter, because the letter has not been read yet. Okay. Chris Keating says that Vogel found that 90% of readers stopped to read the PS. 90% of readers. And if they did that, they read the postscript word for word. So they didn't skim the postscript. That's what I think he's trying to say there. And finally, to catch skimmers, which is almost everybody, consider using a handwritten annotations like key point and an arrow or something written in there, and even underlining. I always liked if you didn't have a big budget, you could use a blue ink, just reflex blue if you want. It's a nice color, stands out very nicely, and use that to do underlines, and use that also to do the signature, and it makes it all look a lot more real, like a letter. And Vogel wasn't a fan of bold, but that could be partly because his work was done when people used typewriters, and a typewritten letter wouldn't have a bold option, right? Although the IBM Selectronic did. It would go back and restrike it just a little off. That was one of the big features of the Selectronic or the Selectric electric typewriter from IBM. Think about that. But a lot has changed in the last 40 years. So that's enough for today. Short little piece. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Who knows? We always have a little bit of technical difficulties. Thanks for watching. You might notice that WDMA, if you went over there, is not working. I don't have the article summaries up. So if you'd like a copy of just this page of the newsletter, I would suggest first you maybe subscribe to Direct Mail Mastery and become a member, because they have a lot more content than this. And secondly, you can just write me, you can comment on YouTube or LinkedIn, send me a message, and I will make sure to get you, or John at WDMA, that the email is still working, and I will get you a copy of the show notes. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Bye-bye.